started with Daryl Berg from the Cats Pause. Go ahead, Daryl.
Good morning, Cal. There seems to be a popular sentiment that you guys went from definite Elite Eight type team to Final Four potential national champion with Olivier Sarr's approval. Is that a fair assumption?
We're better. You know, I had to remind my team yesterday that because they're doing a good job of competing against them. I mean, guys, Isaiah and Lance, I mean, these guys, they're not just giving way now. And so I said, understand his last two ACC games, he had 55 points and 20 rebounds. And I said, now they weren't great teams. You know, they were Duke and Notre Dame. When I say that, I'm joking, obviously. He had 55 and 20. And I said, so when you're competing against him, I'm not sure another guy in our gym could have had 55 and 20. So you're competing against a good player, which tells me we got some good guys.
There we go. Another one?
No, I'm good.
Okay. All right, we'll move to John Hale with Courier Journal. Go ahead, John.
Cal, this is the first time we've talked to you since the kind of back and forth with Chris Mack and the Louisville game. What was your impressions of his video and what the claims he made in it, and then kind of what's the status of that game right now?
Now, do you honestly think I watched that video? You guys know me.
I think somebody showed it to you probably.
No, I didn't. Somebody told me about it. I can't even remember who told me. There was a lot of whining on it. I don't know. But here's what I would say to you. He and I have talked since then. It never even came up. I say guys that take shots, when you shoot arrows at me, they go through bazooka holes. They barely touch skin. They may not touch skin. So I don't worry about all that. I mean, the biggest thing for me, like way bigger, I got a good team. I just want to play. We have to get this underway in a safe way. We've all got to mitigate. We've all got to look after what we're doing with our kids. Wait a minute. And our staff and our managers, because the virus is running us. We're not running it. How do we mitigate all this stuff? And so we got to play. I'm saying if we got to play on I-95, I'm good. Let's play.
About the schedule, just usually you have young teams and they're able to kind of ease into things. It doesn't seem like that's going to happen with the way that the schedule's set up this year. How difficult is that, especially for this team with so many new guys?
I'm worried about it. I said to Mitch, because he's the president or the head of the committee, selection committee, I said, Mitch, what if we go 4-5 or 3-6? Are we going to be all right? Before I sign off on all this stuff, I want to know that we'll be okay if that's the case. See, I think this is a year. You're not worried about your record as much as playing well, and then counting on the committee to pick the best teams. Who are they? And it's not going to be by record, because you got some teams that are going to play 6, quote, bye games, and they're playing the lightest schedule they can get. They're trying to stay on their campus. Nothing wrong with that. Then you're having us. I think it's safer to play other Power Fives who are testing in protocols like we are. But the problem with that is you're not going to win as many games.
All right, next we'll go with Larry Vaught. Go ahead, Larry.
John, when Bruiser was on here a couple of weeks ago with us, he said when you had talked to him about Terrence Clark, you used names like John Wall and Anthony Davis when you were mentioning Terrence Clark. What is there about Terrence that you think he could be so special?
Well, he's growing right now, and his stuff is all potential. You're talking about, I'm going to guess he's 6'6", 6'7". He's a guard. But what we're finding out, he's one of those guards that if you get him near the basket, he's really good, like really good 8 feet and in. And so we're just figuring that out. The other guy that is playing really good is BJ. So now all of a sudden you got these two big wings that are both 6'6", 6'7", that are different. BJ's knocking down shots. He's getting to the rim. He's making I mean, I'm really surprised. He didn't guard the way he has to or the way he will if he wants to stay on the floor. You know, Devin and Davion, both different, which is great for us. They're playing well. So the guard play looks to be pretty solid right now. But, you know, up front, we're big. We could be 7 foot, 6'11", you know, 6'7", 6'7", or you could go with another big guy and 2 big guards. I mean, we could be a big team. You won't believe this. We are working on zone. Now, we'll probably play it a possession or two for the season, but we're working on it.
So, but with Terrence, what makes him so special in your mind?
Again, he's long, he's athletic, he's quick. You know, what he's learning to do is not mess with the ball. Like right now, we chart lane touches. So throughout the practice and accumulated for the year to this point, how many lane touches? By far, he has the most lane touches. And that includes big guys who are catching it passes. That's a lane touch where they're posted up. He's probably got double the lane touches of anybody on the team. Now, it's taken him time because he's used to messing with the ball, and we're just saying, get the ball by the man and get in the lane. So he's playing in a way he had played. So his decisions are still coming around. Like, okay, you're now not messing with it. You're running downhill. You got to slow your mind down. Do I have a runner? Do I have a layup? Do I have a lob? Do I have to stride stop? And that's what we work on. And what I'm trying to get them to understand is you have a freedom inside of the principles that we're teaching. You have a freedom inside of the skill set you have. In other words, you're not a three-point shooter. You're not shooting threes. If you're a driver, figure out areas to drive. If you want to shoot threes, get in the gym and start making threes. So we're doing all that. And Terrence, like I'm on right now based on the fact that he's got a chance to really be special. But I'm saying again, Olivier's playing well. I'll tell you the other kid that's like surprised me is Isaiah. Can do more than I thought. You know, we have too many one-handed rebounders right now. We're doing defensive drills, doing stuff, playing, and we get a good stop, and then we don't rebound the ball. Or we go after a ball with one hand, and now it's tipped away. So we're doing a lot of conditioning because of stuff like that right now.
Next up, we'll go with Adam Zagoria. Go ahead, Adam.
Hi, John. How you doing?
Good.
You know, you mentioned the mitigation stuff. A couple teams already, Villanova and Marquette, I think, have had to pause, you know, basketball activities for 14 days because they had some positive COVID tests. I guess how much do you think the season as a whole could be sort of interrupted and paused by different teams having to stop, you know, for 14 days if they get positive tests? And, you know, would you guys stop for 14 days in the middle of the season if you get positives? You'd
have no choice. We don't run this. The virus runs us. But let me start by telling you, we're in a bubble. So the bubble being our lodge, single room, and their own bath, cook, chef in the building. They eat there. They walk across the parking lot in the practice facility, which there's no one even in the offices in that building yet. So they're in there by themselves. Other parts of the building have some other teams, but we never cross paths. We never see each other. We're in a bubble. I'm feeling very comfortable to the 25th of November. We're also wearing chips that they're doing in football. And what we're finding out is unless you're playing against somebody a lot, you're not going to be in his space more than 15 minutes, 6 feet. And as coaches, managers, we're not near the players 5 minutes in a practice, 3 minutes in a practice. So what we've mitigated by wearing the chips, if it's the players and they're staying in the bubble, they should be fine. We leave the bubble to go home. Managers, coaches, some of the managers are in the lodge. But when we come back, we're not in there. We got masks on and we're not close enough to them. So I feel good till the 25th. The 25th, I don't know how this thing's going to play out. And I will tell you, if one of our kids is positive and is traced, we're out 14 days. What we're trying to do is say, if they have no symptoms in that 14-day period, we have to make conditioning available to them away from our team. If it's tracing 3 or 4, they should be able to condition. They have no symptoms away from our team, sanitize the building. They go back, they're away, but they should be able to condition, not stay in a room. Here's what no one's taking into account. Hardened criminals are not thrown in jail to where they can't come out of a room for 14 days. They're just not.
Sure.
And so 4 walls for 14 days, food's delivered, knock on the door, wait 10 seconds. All right, now open the door and take your food. And come on now, come on. So we got to figure that part of it out for all these players. But we're in the same boat as any other school. We had at one point traced to a bunch of our guys. None of them ended up having it. I think we've gone and 5 or 6 weeks where we've been good, but we're in a bubble. We should be good. On the 25th, it changes. Now, in our schedule, we also have backups in case another team gets sick. So we got our schedule, which we were ahead of this because we just said, okay, played war games. If they give us this date, that date, what's our schedule look like? Let's get it ahead of time. And then what if this team gets sick, this team, that team? How do we do this? So we have some backups in case something like that happens.
And I'm sorry, just to clarify, you mean, is that for just non-conference or for?
Yeah, non-conference. Obviously, if someone gets sick, it'll be a makeup game.
Right.
I guess. I don't know. I mean, if we play in pods and you're playing 6 or 7 games at a time and one team's not there, how they make those games up, I don't know. I mean, we're counting on the league office to have plan A, B, C, D, and E, and maybe F.
All right, next up, we're going to go with Aiden Alperstein. Go ahead, Aiden.
Hey, Coach. How you doing?
Good.
So given the fact that you only have one senior with a lot of college basketball experience within Olivier and all the coronavirus uncertainty, who do you find stepping up throughout these tough times, and how challenging is it for each freshman to find their role and really see who they really are as a basketball player on and off the court?
Yeah, it's hard. Here, Bruiser Flint grabbed me after like 4 days of practice, and he looked at me and said, how in the world do you do this every year? Because this is hard. They are learning about themselves. They're learning about each other. We are learning about them, we coaches, and they are learning about us, what we accept, what is not acceptable, what will get a response from me, what am I looking for, how do I want them to play, and then how do they play together, who's going to step up. We're doing all kind of drills that they come down to the wire. I want to see who makes game-winning shots. And so, but it's all developed here. We've already thrown out 2 things that I thought would be good for the team. We were doing it offensively, and I said, don't like it, stop. We're not doing that. And they all looked at each other like, what do you mean? We're not, don't even think, take that out of your mind. We're not playing that way. Here's some other stuff. And then we're adding to it. We had players, a freshman come up and say, hey, can we call this that? I said, I love it. Yes. And so we're all together trying to figure everybody out. But this is every year. It's not just this year. We've had times where we've had 2 or 3 or 4 players return. this year's not one of those years.
Do you find it extra challenging having a new group come in and out versus Emmanuel Quickly being there for 2 years? Rarely 4-year players are within your program, but having freshmen come in and out, with this year being a solid amount of freshmen, around 8 guys.
Let me give you this. What's changed? One, I haven't traveled. So other than to go to New Jersey, I haven't traveled. So when you're looking and saying, wow, he looks fresh. Yeah. I would have been traveling 4 days a week, maybe 5, coming back to school visits where I'm going all weekend, entertaining, having families, having practices, and then they leave and I go back on the road 3 days and I'm in 5 cities and I'm in 5 homes. I'm giving our in-home recruiting. I haven't done any of that. I've done some Zoom stuff. That's what I'm doing. So I'm fresher. I feel way better coaching. And now I'm saying we should do it like this all the time. Why are we doing that other stuff? I mean, I feel better. And again, my belief, we're all going to get the guys we would have got anyway. That's what I believe. I've been wrong before, Eric. When
1978.
1978. So I may be wrong with that, but and then with the energy that I have, I mean, our energy's been good. We haven't had a bad practice yet. We're going 2-a-days on Saturday and Sunday. And the guys have done the second practice yesterday, which was the 4th in 2 days. They were good. They were good. And some of them stayed after. And so, I'm liking this. The corona has got us to spend more time with our team if they weren't traced. I'll give you an example. They gave us 4 hours, and then they let us ramp up to 8 hours, which meant I could go an hour and a half for 4 or 5 days, hour and 20 minutes for 5 days to really get up and running and training. We should do it every year that way. It's only 2 weeks, but every year it should go from 4 hours on the court to 8 hours on the court in a week to now we're at 20. Now, we never here at Kentucky reach 20. We're usually early in the year, because we're doing the doubles on weekends, we may get to 17, 18 hours, but we're never at 20 hours.
All right. Next up, we're going to go with Jerry Tipton, and then I'll work to Jack Pilgrim with KSR. Go ahead, Jerry.
Yeah, John, one other thing about the COVID, how does that affect team bonding? I'm assuming every year you have the guys over to your house and they get to know each other maybe better as people and so on. What effect has COVID had on that process?
I hate to tell Jerry you asked a good question, but Jerry, this is the first time in my career here at Kentucky, I'm going to say this. That is a good question. Very thoughtful. I don't even want to say thoughtful. Let me just say it was a good question. Okay. So I can't have him here right now. It's only my wife and I here at the house, but it's my wife. So now they being together, because we're in a bubble, they're okay. I wouldn't want them coming here maybe to get something, maybe my wife or somebody, or them bringing something here if that's the case. So one, we've been over here one time. We watched the playoffs outside near the pool, and they ate and stuff. We were here one day. Normally on the weekends, they're here each day on the weekend. We're not doing that right now. The practice facility has an unbelievable lounge and locker room. We're not in the locker room right now. We're not using the hot and cold tubs in the locker room, but we're finally, within the last week, let them in the lounge area, but their chairs are 6-7 feet away. Only 10 can go in because of the space. It's only open so many times, but here's what I would say. What happened in the NBA bubble? Teams could go their own way, do their own thing. I'm golfing, you're doing this, I'm doing that. Or teams could come together and have a breakfast every morning with their team, leave the phones in the room. Let's just do this. They could have a cornhole tournament, which one of the teams did. Or you can go your own separate ways and you're mad you're here, you're talking. Or you could come together at nights and do stuff together as a team. The two best teams in the NBA were like that. The two best teams, I say the two last teams standing. And my thing to my team is, through all this, every team is going through this. How do we become the best as players and staff as handling this? So we're the best at handling this environment. One, we're in a bubble. Most teams are not. Their team is in apartments. There are different places around, which means it's a little harder to keep track because a kid does this. He has somebody in his room. He doesn't know the person gives it to him and his roommates. They trace back and you got 12 guys out. We're hoping we can mitigate that by how we are. And now all I'm talking about, it can't be small groups. Those are the sneakies. They want to go do their thing with 2 or 3 guys because they can go and no one will tell and they won't. There ain't no sneakies now. We all got to be in this together. We all are affecting everybody's lives. Let's do this. So a little bit harder, but we are working to be the absolute best at dealing with this environment.
And just as a follow, Nick Saban tested positive. Mullen, the Florida football coach, tested positive. How does that play on your mind as a, shall we say, older gentleman?
Well, at 55, I think I'll be okay. But I will tell you that I'm just doing all the precautions. I wear the mask. I wash my hands. You know, I'll put it down sometimes to coach, but I'm 15 feet away. I put it back up. I'll be honest with you. I've gone to dinner 4 times, but it's been outdoors. So I'm not going to sit inside a restaurant and eat, just me right now. But I don't have any underlying, so I'm not worried about it. And here's the biggest thing. Again, with my team, I may worry about it more on the 25th, or if we start traveling home and away games, that becomes where you really got to be careful. But I haven't, I haven't spent much time. I mean, I haven't stepped away. When they let us on the court with our kids, I've been out there every moment. This is time for that leadership, but the leadership isn't like act like this isn't happening. No, it's happening and it's spiking. I can say unless numbers are lying to us, it is spiking. Is it going to continue to spike? If people don't wear masks and, act like this is nothing, yeah, it's going to. So let's hope that we get it under control before we start playing the 25th.
All right, next up, we're going to go with Jack Pilgrim with KSR. Then I'll move to you, Kyle Tucker. I know there's a lot of questions, guys, so hang tight. We're trying to get around as quickly as we can with the time we've got. Go ahead, Jack.
Hey, Coach. The assumption when Jacob signed was that he was going to redshirt this year, develop his game a little bit. And then there was a push for his waiver. You guys got that granted. Was that more indicative of his development and, how he's looked in practice so far? Or was that just more leniency from the NCAA with the waiver process and the free eligibility?
The question came back to me was, if all these kids are being waived, why wouldn't we attempt, from the family? Why wouldn't we attempt? Well, okay, we will. And all of a sudden it came back that he could play. Now he's going to be a good player. He's a little bit physically not there yet, but his mind, he's smart, he's long, he's athletic, he's quick and fast. His skills are good, need to get better, but they're good. So yeah, he's a terrific addition. But that was mostly like people are getting waivers. Why wouldn't we attempt? And when we did, they gave it to them.
I guess there's now 11 scholarship guys. The rotation, you typically sit at 7, 8 people, especially by the end of the year. How, is Jacob a guy that you could see fitting into that rotation? And how do you plan on working so many scholarship guys in? Well, part of it is you figure out how many guys deserve to play, and you figure it out and you play them. And normally what happens is what you're saying. It normally breaks at 8. It's obvious these 7 or 8 are better than these 4 or 5, and they're going to get the most minutes. But we had one year where that wasn't the case. We had 10. And I could say, well, you 3 aren't playing. I don't do it that way. If there's 7 here, I've played 6 guys because those 6 separated from the other. I'm not playing people just to play. This is America. This is not communism. And so if you deserve to play, you're going to play. I'll figure it out. If you don't, if someone else deserves it more than you and there's no question, he's playing. I mean, last year we went 2-3 guards. I wasn't doing that early in the year, but as the year went on, I just said, I can't. Emmanuel Quickly, he needs to be starting. That means somebody else you can't start. He ends up being player of the year in our league. But he trusted me to figure it out. These kids will do the same. They'll trust me. But you know what? They'll know before I know who those 7, 8, 9 are. And if it's 9, we play 9. If it's 10, I platoon. I don't see it, but if it was that and there were 10 guys that are all playing well, then we figure it out as a team. Now, from that team, we had the 4 lottery picks. We had the number 1 pick. We ended up having, I believe, 9 or 10 guys off that team drafted. It didn't hurt anybody. Didn't. So if I play 9, it's because 9 deserve to play and no one will be hurt by it. If we play 8 or 7, it's because those 8 or 7 absolutely deserve, there's a gap.
All right, we'll go ahead with Kyle Tucker at The Athletic, and then Almo, I'll come to you. Go ahead, Kyle.
Yeah, you have obviously a luxury in a guy like Davion who can play, is good enough to play for you really at any of those backcourt positions, and is obviously a veteran, sort of steady presence. What is your philosophy on with a guy like Devin Askew, a young kid? If you think he's the ultimate guy at point guard, do you let him? Do you put him out there and let him play through the bumps early because you know it'll get him ready to be that guy at the end? Or do you maybe start with someone that you know is kind of steady and been there before and let Devin work his way into it?
Well, we've got months before any of that is decided. At least I should say weeks, not months. But Davion and Devin are 2 totally different players. One is going to play a certain way and the other is going to play another way because of their strengths. But we could also have Terrence or BJ be a point guard. I mean, you're seeing where the game is going. Who played point for the Lakers?
LeBron.
Who played point for the Houston Rockets?
Harden.
Who played point for the Miami Heat?
Bam. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, he was a point center.
Yeah,
At times he was. He had 5, 6 assists a game. So, look, there's 2 ways of doing this. You have a system and you bring guys in to play the system, and every drill is to the system. And nothing wrong with that. There are coaches that have won national titles 5 and 6, and that's how they do this. And the other way is we're teaching players how to play. We're teaching players how to be good teammates. We can't tell you exactly how we're going to play, but you're going to play to your strengths. Do what the game tells you to do. That's how I coach. What does the game tell you to do right now? Go back door. Well, then go back door, because that's what it's telling you to do. So he's up on you. Why'd you shoot that? What's the game telling you to do? I should have drove it. What's the game telling you? I should have passed it. Just do what the game's telling you to do. So guys like Terrence, like Devin, I'm telling you, I'll give you this. We do accumulated scoring. Okay, we do field goal percentage. Every day when we scrimmage 5-on-5, I don't care if it's drill work, it's 5-on-5, it's charted. So there's stats. Stats indict, the film convicts. Okay? So we keep stats every practice. And then it's accumulated. Who's shooting the highest percentage from the floor right now?
BJ.
Isaiah. Devin Askew. Okay? Who scored the most points?
BJ.
Boy, you just keep being wrong. Last time you were right.
1978.
Okay. Olivier. Who's got the most rebounds?
Lance Ware.
Olivier. Who's got the most block shots? Isaiah. Who's got the most lane touches? Terrence. Okay. So when I go, who's got the most deflections? Devin. Who's got the highest 3-point field goal percentage? I mean, it's there and they see it. So you're not just out here playing for funsies. There are numbers that go along with what you're doing in our practice. I put 5 guys together, and I'm not going to tell you who the 5 were, but they won 22-2. 22-2. And now you're like, okay. And they were talking and flying, and then the other team kind of goes back, not knowing how do we fight out of this. It just shows we got a long way to go. But there are stats. Guys are doing – every guy here is improved. Now, when they get numbers on their back and they're – the popcorn's popping, I don't know how many people are going to be in the seats, but you'll have a better idea of, okay, it's game time, how they playing now.
All right, guys, we're past 11 here, so I'm going to go with 3 more questions, and we'll end this. I'm going to go with Alder first, and John Wong, and then Jeff Drummond. Go ahead, Alder. Hold on, I'm trying to unmute you. There you go.
Hi, Coach. Yeah.
Hi.
Good morning, Coach. Thank you for doing this. I would like to ask about your players in the NBA draft. Tyrese Maxey, Emmanuel Quickly, and Nick Richards. What are your thoughts, and how will their game translate in the NBA? And have the Knicks reach out about them?
So you also have Nate, EJ, and you also have Ashton, who are going to have opportunities. But you asked me about Tyrese. I'm trying to tell everybody, when you look at Tyrese, he's a smaller version, but he's still 6'2", okay? Jamal Murray's 6'5". They both have that lower release. Everybody said Jamal will never get it off. Jamal played with Tyler Ulis, so he said, is he a point guard? They're point guards. We're teaching them to play with the ball and without the ball. And now it becomes, do they make game-winning shots? Are they that guy? Tyrese is. Tyrese physically, athletically, he's a guy that's blocking shots, rebounding the ball, has played dribble drive, downhill runner his whole life, has to be more consistent at shooting. So did Jamal, but played similar to him here. So there are going to be people that'll pass on Jamal that'll regret, like they passed on PJ, like they passed on Shea, like they passed on Jamal, if you want me to keep going, I'll keep going. He's going to be that. Emmanuel Quickly was the player of the year in our league. Is right up there with the hardest workers, spending the most time, most committed players that I've ever had. My sense to the teams, you better give him a second, third, and fourth look before you pass on him, because he's another one. Nick gives you, and also with Emmanuel, he spaces the court because he's making threes. It's what everybody knows. Where is the league going right now? You better be able to make threes. If you can't, you better have some unbelievable, you better have ESP or something like that if you can't shoot. The game has changed. And now Nick is a 7-footer who is coming into his own, blocking shots, running the floor. And now you say, again, he can shoot. He can make free throws. How do you pass on a guy his size? So I think all three of them, if I'm in the NBA and I'm looking at all these guys and what they're being able to do, how do you pass on it? Again, I come back to the culture here. You're not changing the culture. It helps change you. It teaches you to fight. It's fight or flight. And these kids fought and bust through it, and they want it. They're not afraid. Bring in who you want. And so I think all three of those kids, and really, how about Nate? Nate may be the smartest college player in the country. He went to Russia to play. Oh, yeah. And their team is playing for the cup. You ready? He's the only one right now playing that NBA teams will be able to see. And if he is a stretch 4, he may move up in the draft because he went to, and they're paying him over in Russia. And he's only there for 2 months. So he'll be done before the draft. He may be the smartest guy in college basketball.
All right, we'll go to John Wong, and then we'll close out with Jeff Drummond. Go ahead, John.
Hey, John, we waited forever for the Olivier Sarr decision to come down. There were all sorts of rumors out there that some of your colleagues in the SEC were speaking out against the waiver. First of all, can you confirm or deny that? And secondly, how does that work? Are you allowed to speak out against players from other teams?
Now, you know me, John. You've been around me. Would I ever try to keep another player playing from another team? I don't care who they have. It's about the kid. Let him play. So if any coaches in our league did that, I would be really disappointed in how they approach all that they're doing. If you're not for kids, you're not for your own kids. If you're not for kids playing, you're not about your own kids either. So I look at this and just say I would be really disappointed. Didn't hear that. This went through a process that we thought it would go through. Again, here's what I would say with Olivier. Why was I so comfortable? Well, there are times I read tea leaves. Did I ever tell you that? I'll read tea leaves. All right, so what did they do with the spring sport athletes? Tell me, John, what they did.
Hold on, I got to unmute him. Go ahead, John, you're on the spot.
What did they do with spring sports?
They gave them an extra year of eligibility.
Okay. Now, to keep football players from opting out, I figured they're going to give these kids the same waiver. And what did they do, John?
Well, it took them forever, but then they gave them the same waiver.
And then what was I then thinking? You can't do spring and fall and not the winter. How are you doing that? So I looked at it and said, look, you're going to get it because of this, your appeal, which I thought could have done it anyway, or you're going to get it because of the waiver. So let's just hold tight. We're not saying anything. Let it run its course. You're going to be fine. I can't believe other coaches didn't see that coming. Like if you wanted to recruit a guy that had, and this was a football rule, Olivier Sarr is going to graduate on time. So this isn't he's taking a major that they didn't have at Wake. All the stuff, it was fine. If other coaches looked into that and wanted to do a kid for 1 year, they could have. But maybe they don't read tea leaves. I don't know.
All right, Jeff Drummond, we'll end it with you. Go ahead.
Hey, Cal, just kind of wondering, the one kid who has actually played in a game for you, Keon, seems to be flying under the radar a little bit. How's he look so far in, his second year with you?
He's been hurt. He's hurt his leg. I think he's going to be out a couple more weeks. So I'm literally on the court with all new guys. And every day I see him, I'm like, how long? You know, because we need him back. We need his leadership. We need his basketball sense. We need his knowledge of what these kids are going to face. You have Olivier and Davion and Keon would be vets. Everyone else, they think they know, but they don't. So Keon is a big piece of what we do, but he's not practiced it. I believe he's going to be out a couple more weeks.
All right, guys, we went about 10 minutes over there, so I'm going to end it there. Appreciate Coach Cal's time. Just a reminder, guys, we'll have Olivier on Wednesday and Jacob on Friday.